Holly Gleason, who's the co-author of Kenny Chesney's Heart, Life, Music. You have been freelancing as a music critic and journalist for many, many years and have so many awards. So, nominated for Best Cultural Reporting for your 2015 essay, The Impossible Lightness of Being Taylor Swift. In 2016, awarded the fellowship by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's CWRU Center for Pop Music Studies, inducted into the Source Hall of Fame, which is the longest running organization dedicated to recognizing women in the industry. Congratulations on that one. 2019, Miranda Lambert presented you with the CMA Media Achievement Award. You've been named Entertainment Journalist of the Year by the LA Press Club. And I'm sure I could go on and on and on. But certainly, Kenny Chesney knew what he was doing when he chose such a wonderful co-author for his book.
I hope so. I mean, again, with Kenny, I've got 25 years of collaborating on all kinds of things that he's done. So I was there for a lot of it, and I think that helps too.
Yeah, for sure. So, for people who may not know, I mean, as a fan, you know the Kenny Chesney that you see on stage, and he's this gregarious personality. He's kind of larger than life and full of energy, and that isn't necessarily the Kenny Chesney who is off stage. So, I'm interested to get to introduce kind of that side of Kenny from you to an audience that may not know him exactly that way.
I think that the Kenny you get on stage is a piece of him. He is really fun loving. He has amazing friends. They hang out. They're exactly like most people are when they're with their people. But I think part of what drove him as a young man coming to Nashville, getting a songwriter's deal, writing The Tin Man, which was the song that opened all of those doors for him. And,
Mhm.
people think of the brand as Tin Man, but really, Kenny wrote a song that she loves so, so much. And he was a kid without a lot of connections, sitting on a couch in a tiny apartment with almost no furniture, watching The Wizard of Oz on TV. And that part of his soul, right, that is able to access his emotions and to know how things feel and to think about some of the things maybe you don't want to feel, um, is a big piece of who he is, for sure.
Yeah,
And in the things you don't want to feel, I think it's what makes him such a volcano of positive energy.
I love that. That's so well put. A volcano of positive energy for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. So how did this collaboration come about? Did he approach you? Did you approach him? Did he want to do a book? Did you have to talk him into it?
I think, a few factors I think came into play. One, he always said he wouldn't write a book. I think he was too busy living to really go, no, I'm going to take time and sit and do this. He he's the guy that wants to talk to you about you. He doesn't necessarily love the focus being on himself. When he went into the Country Music Hall of Fame, he actually said that he never really sat in achievement. He was always dreaming of the next thing. And he goes, and tonight, I, for the first time in my life, feel like I achieved something.
My
So
gosh.
I've written and done a lot of books. And I think when he looked around and he saw that the Nashville creative community, the idea of really paying your dues and doing those smaller shows, it was all being replaced by social media and algorithms and tag team songwriting. There are going to be kids that just aren't good at that. But
Hmm.
he wants them to be able to also have a map to see the way to get here. And he wanted to pay tribute to a lot of the people who helped him get here. One of the things I think that really makes this book special, and we've had feedback from some pretty amazing people, it gives you a sense of how it works. How you may not be the obvious one. You may not have the high-powered manager who makes six calls and you're doing the thing, but you can build it. And you can have a reality that if you really engage and invest, you can have a lot of fun while you're not getting everything you wanted on day two.
Right. Right.
Because, he
Yeah.
wasn't somebody people would have bet on probably the first 6, 8 years of his career. A lot of the guys he showed up with blew by him, had big careers, and he just didn't get bitter. He's like, well, what else can we do?
Right.
And
I remember being on the radio when he came out with his greatest hits album, his first greatest hits album. And I was like, Kenny Chesney has a great, like, I remember talking about this on the air saying, usually this is something that happens at the end of a career. People barely know his name, but you know every song on this album. Like, he had already established an amazing catalog of music, but
right.
he just wasn't the guy yet. Yet.
No, and I think one of the things that happened going into that greatest hits, and that greatest hits bought him time, he started going down to the islands and he'd fallen in love with the beach, going to Myrtle Beach with his mom as a little kid growing up in East Tennessee. He had the time to just sit and let his mind unwind and not have a million people with a million questions and not have all the other stuff. And he realized because he had friends that were boaties, they were bartenders, they were working in real estate offices, they were regular people that
Mhm.
they weren't necessarily country fans, but their cultural experience was very similar to his. I think one of the reasons he's so big in New England, they work hard. They play
Yeah.
hard. They love
Right.
hard. So it was very much the way he lived. And he thought, what if I go find and I write songs that are more authentic to who I am as a person and not what the marketing tropes say? And that's when, he was like, I love George Jones. I love Van Halen, right? The guitars came forward. That's
Right.
when young became a very personal look at what it means to be young and on fire with discovering life. And you started to see it happen. And it was funny because I started working with him at the back end of that greatest hits. The fire that you felt at the shows wasn't something you'd seen a lot of. There was a passion point with the kids, and they were young people. They were teenagers, they were 20 somethings, they were older country music fans because Kenny never stopped being a country artist.
Right.
But I think what people forget was a lot of people love Van Halen for a really long time.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden, he was selling out amphitheaters. And then he goes in 2003 and sells out Neyland Stadium. And people looked around and went, is there something really going on here? And in 2005, he did three. He did Pittsburgh, DC, and Boston, three places you wouldn't expect,
Right.
and did really big business. Now, the biggest problem for him is how do you find more seats?
Mhm.
When he did Tampa on the last stadium tour, they actually sold obstructed standing room only by the pirate ship at the other end zone. Because
Just to
his
be
his
there. Yeah.
thing was always, he was a working class kid and he wanted to know that kids like him could afford tickets. They could get into the party. No music lover left behind. That was so important to him. And that was a touchstone from 2001 forward. Because to him, it doesn't really matter what kind of car you drive. It matters what kind of heart you're bringing to the party.
Right. So just hearing you talk about him, you obviously admire Kenny Chesney very much. Um, is that a prerequisite for what you do? Do you have to really like the person that you're co-writing with?
Well, I mean, understand, I do a lot of things. I do marketing, I do crisis management, I do um, a form of media training that's really immersive. I think I think two things. I think you have to understand the culture and the audience. I've
Hmm.
worked with Montgomery Gentry. I've worked with Patty Loveless. I've worked with Emmylou Harris. I've worked with John Prine. So I'm all over the place. I've worked with some
Hmm.
clients that either over time I came to really not like, or for whatever reason, the manager was a friend. You know, you work with your people. because we're all in
Sure.
it together. I think that's one of the things that makes the country music business so great. We are all in it together. Um,
Mhm.
as long as you understand who the person is at their heart and who the people that love the music is and what the music does for them.
Mhm.
Kenny's like my little brother. Um, we've been through a lot of stuff together, and I think I respect his level of integrity and his really deep desire to only make music he believes in, to lift up songwriters. You know, he's never been the guy that puts his name on a song to cut it.
Mhm.
I've seen him ask for a lyric change, not put his name on the song. So he's very special that way.
Mhm.
I do think in writing people's lives, right, the two things that it's important and where I think a lot of books do fall apart is either the writer thinks it's about them and doesn't work hard to manifest the subject's voice,
Right.
right? And that's hard to do, or they're not even really attached to this, but it's a ghostwriter that the agent knows. And so they say, oh, this person, I always think about Gretchen Wilson's book,
Okay.
which wasn't somebody who had anything to do with it. And they didn't really understand. And so it turned into maybe a little bit more drama and not
Mm.
enough courage, because there's a
Right.
big difference
Right.
between drama and courage.
For sure. For sure.
And
Especially when talking about Gretchen. Yeah.
people want, but people that don't know, they don't understand and they don't think it's maybe sexy or they
Hmm.
recognize the power of that. And,
Hmm.
you know, I think that people that love country music or that love these artists, they recognize, especially the big ones, this
Hmm.
person speaks for me, right? My
Right.
life is that life. Maybe I don't have the time to be introspective and see um the little pivot point where, oh, that's why this is that. But when you
Right.
hear it, suddenly there goes my life. You know, how many people got pregnant when they were teenagers and everything changed? And it seems like something deadly. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, your son or daughter drives off to college and you realize this changed my life and look who I became. Right? Like that's a big
Right.
deal. Or American kids, you know, Kenny's thing has always been you don't need to be some flossy designer label. That's not the kind of aspiration he believes in. He believes in loving where you are, how you are, investing in your community, making it better, making it awesome, having fun the ways that are accessible to you. That's a
Hmm.
big deal. That's a really big deal. And he's not he's not someone who hallmarks it and goes for tropes. He's someone who goes to the real grist of it. And suddenly, save it for a rainy day is an altar call when you're having a run of bad days.
Right. Right. So obviously you know Kenny very well, you know his music very well. Talk to me about his relationship with his fans because that is a very special, I mean, on the outside of it, looking in, I feel the respect that he has for every person that packs that stadium. Like I truly believe that he feels like he's one of them and he owes them something for
Well,
getting him to where he is.
he is one of them, and I think more than respect, he loves them. Like
Yeah.
when you see a
Yeah.
lot of artists, they thump their chest like me, 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 me. He touches his chest and he throws his arms out. I love you. I love you. I mean, he really does every night sit at the farthest seat from the stage in the stadiums because he wants to know whoever that kid is. He was that kid once upon a time. Megan Maroney was that kid. He wants them to know he sees them, he feels them, he wants them to feel him. But I remember even when he was in the amphitheaters, when he would load up a gator with a couple pictures of margaritas and run around pouring drinks for people.
Right.
Right? Because he wanted them to know we're all in this together. This is fun. And he has so much fun. Or the year in Pittsburgh where they start tying those boats up a week out when he
Yeah.
goes to Heinz Field. And one of the boaties had a band and they were playing all Kenny Chesney music. And he got ran down and he jumped up with a couple guys and they played a few songs. Because he's like, who
That's
does that?
amazing. Yeah.
Why would you
Right.
do that?
Right.
I love, like, how do you say thank you? And
Right.
I think one of the things about this book is it is a thank you because he couldn't take everybody to Sammy Hagar's birthday party, right? He couldn't
Mhm.
have everybody in the studio with Uncle Cracker. When he and Grace Potter have this amazing moment after she's just played him stars at this lovely hotel in LA. Diane Krall and Elvis Costello have been there having dinner, and she played a little bit. And he's egging Grace on, come on, you got to play, you got to play. And, Grace is like, come on, man, like they're really famous and who knows. And they got her to do it. Steve Buscemi and Kenny just like little brothers will do, and I can say it, they they got up there and she played Stars, this new song, which Kenny ended up producing on her with Buddy Cannon, um, brought the restaurant to a screeching halt. He can't take everybody with him, but he wants you to know how magic it is.
Yeah.
There are stories like that about Jimmy Buffett and Bruce Springsteen coming to give him advice and um, producing a Willie Nelson record and it turning back into the kind of sessions they had in Nashville in the 60s and 70s, right? And that's for Kenny, I think he doesn't want all that stuff to be forgotten. Sure, you
Right.
can have a billion streams but he was down on Lower Broadway the same way Christopherson was, the same way Patty Loveless was when she was a girl. Like people don't realize how
Mhm.
young she was when she came to town. And he played a shabby little bar called the Turf when the Ryman was on the verge of being torn down, right? And all the true believers did it. Like that was a rite of passage. And I think it shapes your heart.
Yeah.
So for any kid out there with a dream, he wants them to know there are a million paths up the mountain. And if one path isn't working, use this as a compass.
Right. I love that. What do you think people misunderstand about Kenny Chesney?
I think that I don't know if it's they misunderstand, but I think that we live in a world where most people are look at me, look at me, look at me. And I think they don't realize that when he's off stage or, the reason he's not on every TV show and magazine cover is because he likes to be able to retreat and go have a life so he's got something to draw on creatively, right? He's very private. He's very quiet. A good day for Kenny sometimes is sitting on a boat reading or dinking around on his guitar. Not even, I'm going to write a song today, but just, what does this guitar have to tell me today? And just exploring and being in the moment. And um, his mom had a really, really, really deep love of life. Like he comes by the positive energy 100% from his mom. And I think it's hard to be able to feel that for yourself when you're constantly trying to give it to others. So I think that might be it. And it's not a bad thing. And I don't know, maybe people don't even think about that. But sometimes when you'll see him, he's very small and he's quiet, and people are like, oh, that's what that's about. And it's just, there's a passage in the book where he's having lunch in Kennebunkport. I think he has just gone to see Ethel Kennedy, right? I mean, he sang at her funeral with Stevie Wonder and Sting,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's his buddy. Like they used to
Yeah.
go sailing because, that's how it goes.
Insane.
It's,
Right.
and, and he says you walk into that living room and all your history books come to life. And he's not political and she didn't care, right? Because she saw
Hmm.
this kid that probably reminded her of her own kids. But he was up there and he was having lunch with some friends and the people dock up, or I'm not a sailor, so I don't use the right words, but floating off this boat, he starts hearing people just jamming to his songs. It must have been an iPod or a playlist. And he just sat there real quiet and watched these guys and girls drinking their beer, listening to his songs and smiling. And like that was everything to him. He didn't need to be a big man and walk down and go, "Hey,
Right.
thanks. Wow." Or
Right.
that's me. He didn't like he just it was such a thrill to just sit there and see people loving life and surfing the
Hmm.
music.
Hmm. I love that. Um, is there a moment in his career that you feel defines him? Not as Kenny Chesney, the superstar, but Kenny Chesney, the human being.
Um, it's because he's always in motion, he's always creating, he's always seeking. He said in an interview Sunday, when he went in the Hall of Fame, I believe my best song has yet to be written. Maybe the defining moment for him as a person, but also as an artist, was when he was down in the Caribbean soul searching. He was really successful. He was a triple platinum artist sitting on the bow of the boat or hiding in a corner of a bar that nobody saw him checking his email to make sure his career, like, what do I have to decide? And
Hmm.
he he recognized that his superpower was being that kid sitting in the bar checking his email. That when he found songs that spoke to that, he was authentically being himself. And that's a very scary thing to do because you have experts and label people and songwriters and they know what you need to do. But a lot of them have no idea what the life is
Right.
or how the fans really live or um, the reality of what it's like when it's not all plastic passes, right? You got to laminate, you got to need ticket. But what about the kid standing in line for a beer?
Right.
Or that's gone out to buy the greatest outfit ever because, my best friend who's been on the ride with me since 2001 in West Palm Beach, she always says, it feels like people fall in love at Kenny Chesney concerts. Because it's innocent, they kind of they're checking each other out and you're cute and or you'll see it in, No Shoes Nation, all the friendships that have happened in the parking lots over the years. People grilling out and people um oh, that chili looks good. Hey, we've got some hot dogs and like at sharing and it's hard to imagine now when it was all coming together, but when it was coming together, it was really special, right? Because it was all new. One of the things I remember being in Philadelphia a million years ago and talking to a couple of the longshoremen about, I go, so, you must have a lot of these shows come through. And he said, no, you're the only people. Now there's so many stadium shows. It used to be maybe every 3 or 5 years, U2 would do stadiums or the Stones, but it wasn't commodified the way it is now. Now
Right.
everybody can stadium tour. And some of the stadium tours, maybe they're not really stadiums. But when Kenny was doing it, I just remember that stopped me in my tracks, thinking, how did this young man who lived so far out in the country, the lights from Knoxville didn't even reach them, be able to dream something that big? And maybe that's why, because the lights didn't reach him and all he had was this giant sky and stars. There was a lot of room for dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for the innocence of it all. Like, I think I see Kenny Chesney as being that guy who, of course, when you get to a certain level, you're gonna have dreams and aspirations and whatever. But he's the guy who just does what he does for the love of it and of his
Absolutely.
audience, and you can't help but just be swallowed up in that, in the best way,
Absolutely.
right? It's a
No,
big
no,
warm hug.
it's a big warm hug and it's a big empowered, yes, you can. You know,
Mm,
if you've been to shows, which I know you have, he has that part where he
sure.
gets a little bit preacher and he says, whatever happened, the fight with the girlfriend, the boss, and he says, I want you to leave it out there and for 2 hours. And he's hyping you up to go out and whatever it is, shake it off. Remember that there's a lot more to life than the things that bring you down,
Mhm.
right? And the other thing about him, and it's a personal thing because I went to an all-girls school and my mother's best friend got me a charter subscription to Ms. Magazine, but he's always been very empowering to women in his songs, right? Girls aren't told to get in the truck and they don't talk. His girls are chasing dreams,
Right,
right? Wild
right.
Child, Coast to Somewhere Beautiful, Better as a Memory, Anything But Mine, um, even Knowing You, right?
Yeah.
It's about you are so awesome and we're going to share what we're going to share and you're going to probably leave me with a busted heart. But I'm going to be excited to see you fly, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. We live in a world where I don't know that women are as encouraged. They get a lot of the press because I think they don't have the same tropes to fall into.
Hmm.
So they get to make music that's a little bit more individual. Kelsey's
Hmm.
not Kelsey's not Megan's, not Lainey, not um Miranda, not
Hmm.
Ella, not like they're all pretty individual. But I think that for the most part, you still hear labels say we can't we've got too many girls or we can't sign another girl or and radio stations can only add so many girls. And Kenny is very much, you know, go do you, go dream your dream, whether it's you're going to go be an athletic trainer, right? Because he
Hmm.
meets a lot of women in the sports world who are doing jobs that maybe they didn't do. Or you're going to go be a research scientist. Or you're going to go be um, a mom. If that's what you want to be, he just wants you to do the you that's going to let you be the best be you can be. And
Yeah.
that's not a message all women get, as you
No,
know.
for sure. You know
Yeah,
what?
you do.
I'm sorry that I didn't even really come to that conclusion on my own. I mean, I've been a Kenny Chesney fan from the beginning. But you're right. Like he is a lover of women, and not just a lover of women, but a lover of women succeeding and really wanting to see that to come to fruition, which is so beautiful, so encouraging.
No, no. I mean, when Grace Potter sang on You and Tequila, there was conversation about it being the Eagles,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
I mean, Eagles, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, superstars. He's
Hmm.
super good friends with Joe Walsh and this hippie songwriter from Vermont. But I think when he
Yeah.
really thought about it and what the song was, Grace Potter, and then look what it turned into.
Right. Right.
Like they hadn't met when she walked into the studio. That was his birthday, and she had just come off of a European tour with Mumford and Sons. I think she'd been in the States 30 hours, but she loved the song, and she only knew Sexy Tractor, and she just trusted the moment, which is the beauty of Grace, too. It's like, this
Sure.
makes no
Sure.
sense to it.
Yeah. Okay, so the book is called Life, Music, Love. I feel like you have
The book's called Heart Life Music.
Heart Life Music. Sorry,
Just
Heart
in
Life.
case somebody goes to get it, I want them to be able to find
I
it because
know.
there are a lot of imposter books with almost kind of like titles, and I don't
Right.
want someone thinking they're getting this. He really did he poured his soul into it. I can say, like everything he does, He was side by side with me. We went through 4 edits. We probably did upwards of 80 hours of interviews, just him and me, and I was there for a lot of it. I probably
Yeah,
did another 40 hours of interviews with other people just to fill in blanks or to get, he'd be like, I don't remember a call, blah, blah. And
sure.
he really, once he decided he was gonna do this, he opened his heart like he does. He poured in his life. And if you've been listening, and it sounds like you have, all of that has been pulled through his music since that day when he went, I'm gonna give myself to
Yeah,
what I create.
beautiful. Summed
It's
up
amazing.
beautifully.
Well, I mean, I've been on the ride, and trust me, I lived in Vegas for 5.5 weeks when we finished it, and I am not a Vegas girl, but I wanted to be there so that we could, when there was time, do the work, and we could, have the debates, and it was easy for him because
Hmm.
there he is breaking all this ground. It's fear,
Yeah,
and
right,
it's like there was a lot that went into that, and it was amazing. Everything about it was amazing. And I can say, as a voracious reader of these books, I wanted to make sure that all the things that disappointed me as a reader, we didn't do to the people who love this music. So
right.
they couldn't have had a better co-writer because I'm deeply committed and, you
Yeah,
embarrass me on top of this, but also because I'm a fan of music. I'm a huge fan of music, and I know I want to understand the life force that
right,
made music, that gave me the the pellets that got me through everything I needed to do to get through my life.
right, right. Well, it has been a pleasure picking your brain, hearing your stories, getting your take, and a new perspective on someone that we think we know so well, but we can't wait to meet again, right? Through his book, Kenny
I,
Chesney.
I think you're gonna love it. I think you for sure, but anybody who's ever kind of wanted to have a very long, what John Prine used to call a German afternoon, where you get a couple
Okay.
bottles of wine or a couple cold sixes.
Right, right.
That's really what this is. And again, the people who've read the book, um, they all come away with that. They're like, I ended up staying up way too late because I got so sucked in.
Yeah,
And we worked really hard to keep it in his voice. I didn't do the let me tell you how to do it because people want to talk to him. They don't care about me. I'm just a girl, but he's
yeah.
Kenny.
He's Kenny Chesney for sure. Awesome. Holly Gleason, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thanks, Andy. And hopefully we'll see some of your people. Philly was one of the cities that he absolutely was like, we're going to Philly. So just know,
Yeah,
all of you amazing, crazy, awesome fans that turn up every year, this will probably be the most intimate time you'll ever spend with him. Every one of these book talks is different. I'm the one throwing the shrimp on the Barbie. So
yeah.
we're going to make sure that when you walk away, you're going to really feel like you got to spend that time with him. You get a copy of the book. The pictures are gorgeous. We just saw the book over the weekend, and the
Yeah.
quality of the paper and the images, and there are 3 photo inserts. So you're going to see a lot of back where he comes from, too.
Love that. Love that. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to all of it. Thank you so much, Holly, and enjoy your travels and continued success. Keep doing what you're doing because you're amazing.
Oh my God, you're so nice. Like I said, it's been just a lot of fun and a lot of heart. And when you can work like that, what's better?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're a lucky one. Enjoy. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.